Hello, everyone. My name's Lizzie,
And I'm May,
and we are Mayhem Mamas.
where on this channel we talk about whatever we want because it's our channel.
Yes, we do. I just want to first welcome everybody back. Um, it, we're glad to have everyone here that's continuing to support us and listen to our little channel that we have going here. Tonight is going to be our part three in the series that we've done about special needs, special circumstances. And tonight's episode is going to be all about May and her little one. And so we're going to jump in here in just a second. But first, we want to say, hit the like button, make some comments, let us know what you're thinking. Subscribe. It's free, it doesn't cost anything, it shows us great support. And we're just kind of the little engine that could here, and we just kind of keep going. And
Yes,
we're just really glad we've got a bunch of new subscribers this week. And so
yes.
we are happy about that. And so we're going to go ahead and start, and I'm going to turn it over to May.
So, on our last episode, our special needs and special circumstances, um, as you may remember, little M was born September 4th, 2013. And she came in weighing 7 pounds, 6 ounces, and she was 20.5 inches long. Um, She was supposed to be on the 3rd, but came fashionably late. And when we left home, we did know that she had some enlarged ventricles and that there could actually be some developmental delays with her.
Hmm.
And so before we left the hospital, there was a state program called Sooner Start, and they gave us some information about some therapies that would help children that had delays. And we put it in our little sack, and we left the hospital September 6th with our little baby. And Daddy was a nervous wreck on the first drive home, driving like 10 miles under the speed limit and cursing at everybody driving down the road. But the first thing I had noticed that M wasn't doing is when we were trying to nurse, she wasn't latching on. And I knew that, so we had some issues in the hospital. And so I had figured that either A, she didn't have the muscle strength, B, she didn't have the patience to do it, or C, we had just lost it. Like, I didn't know if there was a window and we had broke the window or what. And so we we didn't do that. We didn't nurse right away. And so I just went into to pumping, which is, I don't know if you've ever pumped before, but you feel real sexy pumping.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
Time
womanly.
consuming. Time consuming
Mhm.
too.
Yep. And so one of the very first things about Em is we noticed that she cried constantly. This poor
Oh.
baby cried all the time. Cried, cried, cried. And it was almost like she was in pain. She'd draw her knees up and
Uh-huh.
she would just cry. If she wasn't sleeping, she was crying.
Yeah.
And we had bought all those little colic drops, those soothing tummy drops, the
Uh-huh.
bottles with the fancy nipples. We bought
Right.
everything and nothing was working.
Were you thinking it was like a colicky type thing? Is
I
that since
was.
okay, because she's drawing her legs up, you're thinking it's stomach related. She's just a
Yes.
colicky baby. Okay.
Yes, because I was.
Okay.
And my mom was watching her while I was going to work, and she would say that this isn't colic, there's something wrong. And I was like,
Right.
well, no, it's just colic.
Right.
And on her 3-month visit to the pediatrician, you know, the pediatrician looked her over and says, there's nothing wrong with your child. Like, she's fine.
Right.
It's colic. It's colic. It's colic.
Right.
So around month 4, when she was still crying, it came to the point where my husband was almost in tears, and he was like, "If you don't do something with this child,
Right.
I'm gonna leave this child here in the hospital, and you can deal with this quote unquote colicky baby."
Right.
And so the doctor was like, "Well, okay, so she probably has acid reflux, so let's put her on a omeprazole, and let's go ahead and look at some other things." Now, also, as she was crying and crying and crying, she was vomiting. So she
Okay.
was crying and vomiting. So that's also why they thought maybe she
It's
was having
right.
acid reflux.
Right, because that's how my little one did.
Right,
She had the esophageal reflex, and she did those things.
right. So we had a little exorcist baby that would turn her head and vomit.
Oh, bless her little heart.
The only time I think this child was not crying is we had one of those swings that was automated, that was like remote control, like battery powered.
Oh, the
And
automatic ones?
yes, no, we didn't have the egg thing, but it was just a
Right.
rocker swing.
Uh-huh.
And we would put her in that thing, and she was in heaven. But as soon as that thing stopped, boy,
She'd start
she,
crying.
yeah. And it wasn't that she was spoiled because we didn't hold her all the time or anything like that. She
Right.
just crying and vomiting and
Right.
eating. And also at 3 months old, I noticed that she wasn't rolling over like
Uh-huh.
babies do,
Uh-huh.
and she wasn't really doing like trying to roll over.
Right. And that probably didn't cause too much suspicion though, because I mean, all kids have their own uh
Time that they do stuff.
exactly, like one might roll over when they're 3 months, and another one might not until they're six. Hey, I'm lazy, I
Right.
like just laying here, and that's just how I'm rolling.
Right. And plus, again, we thought there was going to be
Right.
some developmental delays. So we thought, okay, maybe 6 months she'll start doing what a 3 month old does. So anyway, we go back at about 4 months and tell the doctor, look, you've got to do so. There's something wrong with this child.
Right.
And so she says the doctor's, after, just saying, no, it's colic, it's colic, it's colic. She goes ahead and says, all right, well, here's the deal. Let's go ahead and do an MRI, because sometimes vomiting is a sign that things are changing in the brain. The ventricles may be changing, something like that. And so we're like, okay, finally, we're getting some answers. We might be getting
Right.
something on the right track. And in the meantime, she's also scheduled us with a GI doctor.
Uh-huh.
So we're like, oh, finally.
Right. Check out the esophageal stuff and all that.
Right. So she puts us on omeprazole, and
Uh-huh.
then we go see the GI doctor, and the GI doctor says that Emma has, I just had the word, not, it's not dysentery. Oh, what was it called? Dysmotility. She has
Okay.
dysmotility. And that's when, I think she said, like, when your intestines kind of like twist up, like cramp up,
Uh-huh.
and also it causes pain. It can cause constipation and
Right.
all kinds of issues. So she put us on a special formula, and that special formula was called, uh oh, let me see here. I know I have it here. I want to say it's neomycin, not neomycin. That's a medicine.
What I was going to add was to the dismobility thing. Um, yes, that is very similar to esophageal reflex. What happens with that is the muscles in the esophagus tighten, and then
Mhm.
they relax, and then they tighten, and then they relax, and so the food or liquids or whatever they're trying to pass has a really hard time of making its way down the esophagus to make
Oh,
its way to the
wow.
stomach. So it causes swallowing problems. And you get that acid reflux, the heartburn, all of those things. So she was in pain. She was experiencing all those things. Yeah.
Right, right,
Yeah.
exactly. That's kind of crazy that our children had similar things. I mean,
Isn't that
obviously,
crazy? Yeah, it
yeah,
is.
you
Yeah.
had it in the stomach or throat. Mine had it in the stomach. It was Nutramygen. Yeah.
Okay.
Neutramagen. And that formula was very, very, very expensive. I think it was made out of gold specks and diamond dust.
Yeah.
um
Right.
so and then we had to start her on Levison um every 4 hours,
Uh-huh.
and then omeprazole.
Okay.
So but I tell you what, whatever it was helped.
Yes.
So didn't care, it
Right.
helped.
It's helping. Right. It's letting your baby have some
Right.
easier time and not pain and all that. Yeah. That's kind of same with my little one, once we got started on the medicines, then that
Mhm.
definitely helped. She still
Mhm.
had problems if she was laying fat and certain things. We just had to avoid things, but
Right.
the medicines for sure helped.
Right. And of course, first question you ask is how long does this going to take to work? When is this going to kick
Right.
in?
Exactly. Yeah. Mhm.
So, and it kicked in pretty fast. I mean, it was
Uh-huh.
in a couple days and it
Uh-huh.
started working for her. But anyway, so we go in and on February 17th, 2014, is M's little MRI date that the pediatrician schedules. So we're going to take her in, and we're in the waiting room and we're pushing her back and forth because she's still crying. She's just not vomiting anymore.
Uh-huh.
Um, and as long as we're pushing her in her stroller, she's not as fussy.
Uh-huh.
And we noticed that her arms start tensing up and shaking. And it's like, look at her. And I was like, oh, well, she's just cold. It's just, she's cold. It's okay. It's
Right.
February. She's cold. She's fine.
Right.
So she goes in, has the MRI. They tell us if there's anything wrong, we'll let you know. We'll keep you. If there, if it's okay, we'll let you go home. Fair enough. They let us go home. So we're
Mhm.
like, okay, great. Must be a good sign. So we go on home. That afternoon, I'm sitting there holding, and I notice that she starts to shake, and she's non-responsive, isn't really looking at me, saying anything, and she's shaking. And I asked my husband, I was like, look at her. And so he calls, I don't remember who he calls, but whoever he calls says, get her to the ER. If you're concerned and this is not normal for her, get her to the ER.
Mhm.
So we get her to the ER. We spend 7 hours in the ER, and we are walking her up and down the hallway in her stroller because if we don't, she just sits there and cries. We finally make it back into the room around midnight, and they come back and tell us that they have called the neurologist on call to come talk to us. So here it is. We've been walking up and down the hall for 7 hours. We're tired. It's about midnight. We've been up since 7. I think it was like her appointment was at 7 that morning, so we were up before the crack of dawn with the MRI. Nervous the night before, didn't sleep very
Right.
well that night. So about 30 minutes later, the neurologist comes in, walks in, has his papers, and goes, "Your daughter has Lesencephaly. Do you have any questions?"
Oh, gee.
I mean, just like to tell you, like, we're now out of bread. Do you want anything else?
That's horrible.
my husband and I had no idea what to say, what to
Right.
do. We're in shock. We don't
You
know what
probably you probably didn't even know what it was really. I
we
mean,
had
you
no
know.
idea what it was.
Right. Mhm.
Nothing. I mean, all we know is this child was shaking. Is she going to live? Is she going to die? We have no idea. So I don't remember which one of us said, um, okay, well, what is that? And
Right.
what is happening with our child? And so he explains that in the MRI, it showed that part of her brain was smooth, and that because of her part of her brain was smooth, it is causing infantile spasms. And it has to do with the electrical current in the brain, and it's misfiring, causing her body to spasm. And that they were going to put her on Keppra, which is a seizure medication,
Mhm.
and that they had a follow up to the neurology doctor at Children's on Friday. And did we have any other questions?
Yeah, talk about a great bedside manner, huh?
Oh, this guy, let me tell
Was
you.
it a jerk? Yeah. Well, and we had some doctors like that too over the years, but most of the doctors that we had were wonderful, but we did have some like
Mhm.
that as well. They
Right.
exist.
Uh-huh. And this guy, I think, he was on call from the VA hospital, I do believe.
Oh,
I
uh-huh.
don't think he was really at Children, like he wasn't. I think he was just on call. The
Right. He wasn't
neurologist
a
on call.
he, right. He wasn't a pediatrician on call.
Exactly.
I mean neurologist.
Mhm.
He was just the on-call doctor that probably
Mhm.
deals with veterans all the time or whatever. And
Mhm.
um,
Adults.
yes, adults exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So we drive home. We're in the car, and I just start screaming because I don't know what it is. I don't know what to
Right.
do. I don't know what to tell my family. I don't
Right.
and of course, what's the first thing you're going to do? Because this is 2014. The first thing you're going to do is Google it.
Well, sure.
So here I go and I Google it, and it says that lesencephaly, which literally means smooth brain, is a rare gene like linked brain malformation characterized by the absence of normal convolutions, which is folds, in the cerebral cortex, and an abnormally small head. In the usual condition of lesencephaly, children usually have a normal sized head at birth.
Uh-huh.
So then, if you go down and you read the prognosis for children with lesencephaly depends on the degree of brain malformation. Many will die before the age of 10. The cause of death is usually aspiration of food or fluids, respiratory disease, or severe seizures. Some will
Mm.
survive, but show no significant development, usually not beyond a 3 to 5 month old level. Others may have near normal development and intelligence. Because of this range, it is important to seek the opinion of specialists in lesencephaly and support from family groups with connection to these specialists.
Right.
So, my
You read that
child,
and you're devastated.
right.
Mhm. Yes.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And they say we can't talk to anybody until Friday. So,
Right.
the next day, first thing I do is call the doctor, get our appointment at least moved up until Thursday. So that's a plus, not the greatest, but a plus. He never told us that the medication takes time to work, to get in the brain to work, could take up
Right.
to 2 weeks, any of that.
Right.
We just
Uh-huh.
assumed you give her the medication, it's going to stop. None of that. Next day, we go back to the ER because the seizures are still happening. We
Mhm.
only had to spend at least, I think, 6 hours this time in the ER, but at least we kind of knew what was going on. And they decide that they're going to give her the medication through an IV, and they put the little needle in her head,
Uh-huh.
which that is heartbreaking.
Yes.
That is a heartbreaking way to give the the IV there in the little
Mhm.
baby's head.
Right. Yeah, my little one had to have that done a lot.
Yeah. So we finally make it to Friday. We go see the neurologist. She explains to us that only part of Emma's brain is smooth, that it has happened sometime in the womb when, the brain was forming. Something happened. She doesn't know what at this point or why.
Mhm.
Um, she did tell us, that all of the answers, all the questions that we had, she really didn't have answers for.
Mhm.
Like, is it going to make it to a year old? Is it going to be able to walk or talk or blah, blah, blah? Because it was only 4 months at the time. And
Mhm.
of course, her answers are, we're just going to have to wait and see.
Mhm.
So, in the meantime, has now had some EEGs, genetic testing, done different kinds of seizure medications. Had to go through numerous ones, even Valium, because insurance wouldn't put her on the right medication that she needed to be on. She had to go on Valium first, which was 2 weeks of a zombie baby. That was hell.
Oh, I bet.
To watch your child literally look like a baby that's a zombie,
Yeah, that just
sleeping,
has
and
nothing. Yeah.
yeah, lights are on, but nobody's home. Uh, we have done genetic testing. All of it has come back fine, basically. Um,
So it's not genetic?
no,
Okay.
no,
Okay.
they there are some. Uh, they've found some genes, like in me. They said that my on my gene, I have one that if I ever got a high fever, they asked if I have seizures. And I said, no, I've never had that. They said because Emma gets that gene from me, that if you ever had high fever, you would get a seizure. But I've never had that.
Uh-huh.
So, um, but they never could find anything
To link it to a
to
genetic
link it to
disorder.
anything.
Okay.
Yeah. And they've done every single tippity top at this time that they can possibly do. And they give you a copy of the test, and I
Right.
mean, it's just letters and numbers, and
Right.
and they go over it with you. Emma has had to have two, I believe, eye surgeries because she's had lazy eyes, and they were really bad. Um, she's close to needing glasses, but they said that really that's not gonna be really big of a deal
Uh-huh.
because it's not going to improve her vision greatly to where it's going to it's not going to be like if they put glasses on her, she's not going to have this 20/20 vision.
Uh-huh.
It's not going to improve it that much. So instead of having her uh, wear glasses and go through the fuss of trying to make her wear glasses, they're just going to leave it be for now
Uh-huh.
and see how things go.
Uh-huh.
Um, anytime we take her to the dentist just to do simple cleaning, we have to put her under.
Uh-huh.
So that's fun. We did take her to the dentist. She's gone twice, and then COVID hit. And then the insurance decided to have a dispute with the hospital we go to. They just now got under contract again. So we haven't been to the dentist in a little bit. So now we're going to have to schedule that visit.
Uh-huh. Don't you just love the healthcare system? That's a whole
Oh, love
whole different
it.
show. Yeah. They
Yeah.
always make things so difficult for you. You know, when you have kids that have issues and problems, it is just so consuming to every part of your
Mhm.
body. And then to pay so much money for insurance and
Mhm.
then for them to fight you over things that you
Mhm.
need to help your child try to live a more normal life existence.
Right.
And it's so frustrating. Yeah. Yeah, we
Because not that this is anybody's business, care, or concern, but we pay for insurance. We're not on state insurance
mhm.
or um
Yeah, you're on private insurance.
yes. Yes, and we're not on medical assistance, we're not on social security disability, we're not on any type of government assistance or government help or any of that. We My husband has insurance through his job, so we have normal human insurance like everybody else.
Right, exactly, and it's a shame that
Uh-huh.
this has to happen. I understand because I
Yeah.
fought on numerous occasions on different
And
things.
because she has to be put to sleep, we can't go to like Ocean Dental and then,
Right,
well,
exactly.
they're having issues with their insurance contract. We'll just go to Dr. Brown down the street. You can't do that. It has to be in a hospital because
Right.
she has to be put to sleep.
Uh-huh.
So that's always fun. My daughter is in a wheelchair, so we keep up with that. It This is the only wheelchair she's had. It does grow, but it's at the end of its growth. So the next time she'll have to have an actual another wheelchair that I think we're gonna get the one that folds up instead of just
Oh,
one that does
nice.
not fold up. Yeah, that'll
Yeah,
be a
for
lot easier to transport.
easier for you to load, unload, to
Uh-huh.
transport, to get in and out of small places and stuff like that. Yeah,
Exactly.
that'll be nice.
She does wear AFOs on her ankles because her ankles are so weak and they turn in. And I think if she could, she'd probably walk on her ankles, which I know sounds horrible, but that's just because she doesn't have any muscle strength in them. She
Uh-huh.
was wearing knee braces, but now she's done a pretty good job of not um, uh, keeping her knees in.
Uh-huh.
So she doesn't have to wear knee braces anymore. So that's really
That's
good.
great. Oh, yeah, that's wonderful.
She can walk with a walker, like a gait trainer.
Mhm.
And we are working with her to walk independently of a gait trainer,
Mhm.
but her balance just isn't there right now. She just doesn't have that balance.
Mhm.
She's been in physical therapy since she was just about, well, she was in outpatient physical therapy since she was about 1 years old. And she was with Sooner Start. I think she started there when she was about 6 months old, I do
Mhm.
believe. She's been in physical, occupational, she was in vision therapy for her cross eyes,
Mhm.
and she's been in eating therapy.
Mhm.
She's been in water therapy. I think that may be all.
But, like, that's not enough.
Well, I feel like I'm forgetting something
Yeah, yeah.
that
There's so much stuff,
uh-huh.
that it gets that you're just like, "Oh, well, I think I forgot something. Maybe I
Yeah.
haven't." Yeah, I understand that too. Well, she's definitely come a long way just since
Yes.
I've known her. Um, I actually knew her before I knew you,
Yes.
because of the job that I'm in, and so, she just always has a smile, always has a hug, just the
Mhm.
sweetest, most positive outlook. Um, I mean, you just can't help but immediately fall in love with her.
Well, thank you. She's the little Walmart greeter. That's for sure at the
She
school.
really is. She
Uh-huh.
really is.
Yep. That she is. Yep.
That's
They
the
would
perfect thing because she is.
uh-huh.
She's just always happy.
She is. She's now 9 years old, and we are going through the tween age. The disease has not disabled any of her or her disability has not disabled any of her hormone growth or any of that, because she's
Uh-huh.
right there in that tween 9-year-old
R
tween
Right, with the
age
attitude and
with
all
the
that. Well,
attitude.
let me tell you what, she's as smart as a whip too.
She
Now,
is.
you
Yeah.
can't get anything by her. She's
Mm-mm.
definitely very intelligent, and, even though she doesn't say a lot of stuff,
Mhm.
what she says with authority,
Mhm.
and, yeah, she will let you know real quick with a few words and a look what she's all about.
Exactly. Yep, exactly. She's now learned, they I do. And so if you ask her, like, uh, "Do you wanna do something?" And if she does, she'll say, "I do. I
That's so
do."
cute. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
she's
she's
the I can't really remember which part of the brain that is smooth. I did not, I mean, I have her medical records, but to be honest with you, I haven't really gone through them and looked at them in a very long time.
uh-huh.
And like the doctor said, and kind of what I figure, she's going to do what she's going to do.
Right.
And what we
Right.
work on her with is what we work on her with, and that's what she's going to do.
Uh-huh.
Um to put a limit on her is it's not going to work. If she wants to walk, she's going to walk. If
Sure.
she doesn't want to, she's not going to.
Right. If she sees value in it, she will.
Mhm.
And I have to say, it over this back in the spring, it had been a little bit since I had seen her, and we happened to be somewhere one evening during a storm, and
Mhm.
I it was amazing to me how much stronger she had gotten,
Yeah.
in her legs and in just in her all of her lower body.
Right, right. She does have low muscle tone. Um but she's full height of a 9-year-old. I mean, she
Yeah, she's
stands up
tall.
and I mean, she's your typical 9-year-old.
Mhm.
Um she has feelings, she has thoughts, she has friends.
Uh-huh.
I'm so happy that she's at the school that she is at, because they are loving and accepting,
Yes.
and they are
Agreed.
taught from pre-K that those children are just like anybody else,
Mhm.
and they include them in everything. If they
Yes, and
have
that's
a
wonderful.
pageant or program or whatever, they include a part for those children. If it's
Mhm.
even if it's a train or a tree or something,
Right,
they are
whatever.
part of that program, and
Yeah,
I
that's great.
I think it's amazing. Her teachers and her paras are amazing. They treat her like she's one of theirs,
Uh-huh.
and I thank God for everybody who's been in her life, and I know if she was quote unquote normal, I would have a normal child, but I wouldn't have the tons of people in my life that I have in my life.
Sure, absolutely.
And there's
Yes.
probably people I haven't seen in 4 years, but I know if I called them up and said, "Hey, what are you doing?" It would be just like talking like we hadn't like I seen them yesterday.
Right, like you haven't skipped a beat.
Something else that's really wonderful is when Emma went to outpatient therapy here in town at a little local place, they also had a lot of elderly patients that would go there because they had like a therapy pool,
Uh-huh.
and those elderly people would go in and see Emma, and that would just make their day because
Oh, I
she was
bet.
so sunny and bright, and they just loved going in there and seeing her.
Yeah,
And
that's wonderful.
yeah, they would always comment on how they just made their heart just so much joy that she brought to their lives. And I think that, in a perfect world, we'd all be perfect, you know?
Uh-huh.
But Emma has her challenges, and I worry every day as she gets taller and heavier, and I'm shorter and weaker,
Right.
what the future is going to be like, because she's dead weight. She's
Mhm.
not like lifting up someone who can help.
Uh-huh.
When you lift up your child, they can help carry themselves or disperse their weight evenly. She can't. And so it's like lifting a box of rocks or lifting a heavy bag of cement.
Right. Mhm.
And so it's different than lifting a healthy child. So I
Right.
worry. I worry about that and how in the future, because I have my own health issues and my own limitations, and I worry about that. And then, there's the whole aspect of, you see, when I first learned that was going to have a little girl, I couldn't wait. She was going to do what I did. She was going to get in the dance classes and wear the dance costumes and perform in the little 5 hour long
Recitals?
recitals.
Right.
And then, this happens. And
Uh-huh.
even though she can still do that in her own way, it's still different.
Right, it looks different than what you'd imagined in your brain. Right.
Exactly.
And a lot of times people don't understand that. I mean, most people have, whether they're ever spoken or not, I think most parents, most moms and dads have this dream of this is how it's going to be for my child. And this is
Yes.
what they're going to do, and they're going to do this, and they're going to be this, and they're going to act like
Mhm.
this, and all these things. And then when it's just different from the norm
Mhm.
of society, you almost
Mhm.
don't know what to do with that.
Right.
And so you're struggling with that mentally, psychologically, it is an entirely whole body consuming issue when you have kids
Mhm.
that have problems and issues. And so I hear you, but I do know this. I do know that she is determined,
Mhm.
and I do know that if she finds value in walking, she is going to do it.
Oh, yeah.
No matter
Yeah.
what she sets her mind at doing, she's going to do it. And
Mhm.
so that's may look a little different than from
Right.
what someone else's child is going to do or look
Mhm.
like, but that doesn't mean has to be any less significant and wonderful.
Right. Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and like you see those little girls out shopping with their moms, and they're
Uh-huh.
having little spa days and little girl days and stuff like that. It doesn't want to have them messing with her hands or her feet.
Right. No, they don't that's not something that she desires if that's,
Right.
comfortable for her.
Mhm. And that's something also that she's overcome a lot of, is the sensory issues. When she was little, sensory issues was huge with her. She
Uh-huh.
wouldn't, I mean, something that a lot of people take for granted is holding your child's hand. She did
Uh-huh.
not want me touching her hand. She didn't want holding her hand.
Uh-huh.
Then about at a year and a half to 2 years, she started letting me hold her hand.
Uh-huh.
Daddy couldn't hold her hand. I
Right.
was the only one to let, and then finally it she would let daddy hold her hand. And now, it's okay.
Right.
And Christmases are so different. She doesn't unwrap presents. She doesn't like new things.
Right.
She's a lot better than what she used to be. I
Uh-huh.
mean, the first couple of years, I just hated holidays. She absolutely hated new things, hated
Uh-huh.
them, hated the
Yeah.
noise, hated the paper, hated everything,
Uh-huh.
hated, just had to have, couldn't have the newness and the surprise and
Uh-huh.
the textures and all the noises. Now she's still not real excited about unwrapping stuff, but she will sit and let you do it, and then you have to leave it out so she can touch it and look at it and observe it in her
Uh-huh,
own
get used
time,
to
in
it.
her
Uh-huh.
own way. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So holidays are different
Mhm.
than, you know,
Right.
than when you have a child, and it, not that it takes the fun out of it, but it's different. It's a
Sure.
different fun, and it's a
Right.
different holiday.
Uh-huh.
So, but
Yeah.
that's the way, and God chose us.
Right. Exactly. Right.
So,
Yeah, and I mean, he did. So, and I think you and your husband do a great job with
mm,
her.
thank you.
And yeah, I just love her. She's just precious.
I mean, really, the dog deserves credit. She's done most of the work. We just really we let the
Her
dog watch her
puppy.
most of the time.
Her puppy dog. Oh, it's so sweet. Well, it's been really nice getting to know, the technical medical stuff um, that's has gone on and continues to go on with your little one. And I've enjoyed, even though I knew a lot of this stuff, it
Mhm.
was it was nice to just hear and see again how our lives have kind of paralleled.
Mhm.
And kind of puts a perspective on again why we get along so well and why we're
Mhm.
friends. And I am thankful for that.
Oh, yeah.
Not that I'm glad that our daughters have had problems and issues,
Right.
but I mean, like you said, this is what we've been dealt, and but this is
Mhm.
one of those things that have, brought you into my life,
Mhm.
that might not would have happened before.
Right.
So, and I'm appreciative of that. And
Yes.
one day here pretty soon, we are going to be doing a episode on friendship and
Mhm.
struggles with that. And um, we won't get into that now, but just so that you know, we are going to do an episode on that because sometimes friendship's really hard for people, and I'm one of those. So,
Yeah.
we can talk about that and how that's unfolded with us. But we are so glad that you joined us for this episode. It's so special to her heart and my heart, and
Yes.
we've hoped you've enjoyed this. Again, this was part 3. So if you go back and want to look at the other 2 episodes, the first one was special needs, special circumstances, and then the part 2 was my itty bitty 9-pound baby, and then this one about Little
Little
M's
M.
song.
Yeah, and I think,
So,
you can link them at the top of this video. I think
okay, we'll link
you
them
do that.
on, and that
Mhm.
way you can click on if you want to see them. Again, comment, hit the like button, and
Subscribe.
subscribe. Hit that button. It's free. Show us your support for us. We're really enjoying doing this, and we hope everybody
Yes.
else is enjoying listening. So,
Yeah.
we're gonna say bye for now, but don't forget to join us again on Friday evening. We have a new episode, and it is going to be hilarious. I'm not
I
even going to
can't
tell you
wait.
what it's about, but the subject is awesome. It's fun, it's
Ah,
lighthearted, and we're going to have a blast with it. So don't forget
yes.
that's Friday at 7 p.m. Central. And we'll see you guys soon.